Got promoted at work last week. Boss said I'm doing well. Gave me new trainers, new iPhone, even an e-bike for deliveries. Working late most nights now. Weekends too. Can't really tell mum where I'm going or what I'm carrying. Boss says best she doesn't know. Says if I stop showing up, he knows where my little sister goes to school. He knows where my little sister goes to school. That's not a promotion. That's exploitation. County Line's gangs groom kids with gifts, then trap them with threats. If you've noticed changes in a young person, they could be a victim of County Line's gangs. Call Crime Stoppers, 100% anonymous, on 0800 555 111.
Baseball is back, and the first pitch is on Netflix. The New York Yankees, led by seven-time All-Star Aaron Judge, head to the San Francisco Bay to take on Rafael Devers' San Francisco Giants. This season kicks off with one exclusive opening night game. Watch MLB Opening Night, the New York Yankees versus the San Francisco Giants, live on Netflix. Wednesday, March 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
Get in the game with the college-branded Venmo debit card. Wrap your team with every tap and earn up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash, a new rewards program from Venmo. No monthly fee, no minimum balance, just school pride and spending power. Get in the game and sign up for the Venmo debit card at venmo.com/collegecard. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. Select schools available. Venmo Stash terms and exclusions apply at venmo.me/stash terms. Max $100 cash back per month.
Hello everyone, I'm Chris Wynn and welcome to another How Weather podcast as you join us in a glorious extended international break, which I normally detest, but we've got 3 weeks where we can just enjoy our victory at the weekend and soak it all in as England bore everyone to death with issues off the field that nobody cares about and football on the field that people might want to avoid. But I simply don't care, as I'll keep watching the action from Sunday in every camera angle that is available to me. And you might be surprised that it will likely be the main topic of today's edition of How We're the podcast as we bring you part one of a bumper Q&A. And I have one or two gentlemen joining me today who just want to keep talking about it as well. And first up, we have Gavin Henderson. Hello, mate.
Hiya, mate. Yes. I'll never get bored of talking about that. I mean, we've got 3 weeks, Chris, so I think we'll probably start boring each other or boring the listeners, maybe talking about the derby. But then again, it is beating Newcastle, isn't it? So I think we just need to milk this thing dry and keep banging on because why not? It's not every day you beat Newcastle, just twice a season.
Yeah, we'll have to start drawing them more in the cup now, won't we? Now we're in this position, but yeah, I mean, it is going to be 2.5 weeks talking about that, and maybe a few days talking about building up the Spurs eventually. But I did listen to you, Martin, and Damien Spellman, Gav, on the Monday supplement, and to be fair, you still sounded a little bit like you were, still under the influence, maybe.
Well, it was like first thing in the morning, so I was still running on the drink from the day before, I guess. You know what it was? I was fairly sensible. I mean, we started at 8 o'clock in the morning, so that's fair. I think that's fairly sensible, 8 o'clock on Derby Day. So we were in the pub by then. But then I think once we won, everyone was in party mode, and all of a sudden there were trays of Jaeger bombs coming to our table, and then don't remember getting home. But you've got to celebrate these things, man. I mean, it was just such a great way to win a game. I said this to Martin and Damien. If you're going to win a derby, do it in the 90th minute. It's like no else is it. It's just amazing to win a game like that, because I've seen videos from I think it was in one of the ones I saw was in the St James's Park stack, and I've seen a couple of others dotting around of like basically mags in pubs. In fact, some of the best ones I saw were like in places like Chesley Street, where it's obviously mixed, and there's mags and Sunderland fans in the pubs, and so you not only get to see the Sunderland fans going ballistic, but then the mags just dying in their chairs. But yeah, I've loved everything about this. And so we should. Again, I wrote about this on the website this week, but when I stood in the Stadium of Light and watched us lose to Cheltenham, Mansfield or like Doncaster. Like in league games, I watched us lose. And like I actually wondered, will we ever get back to the Premier League? Will we ever get to playing games like the Derby again? Like genuinely, it had that feeling about it. So you've got to enjoy it, because there was a time not long ago when that felt so far in the future that you couldn't reach it. And here we are, having beat them twice. We're above them in the table, flying high in the Premier League. If we go on a mad run after the international break, God knows where we'll end up. And with Sunderland, you just don't know, do you? So enjoy it, soak it all in, and we're going to do that even more today, I'm sure, because I imagine all the questions are about the Derby. So yes, buckle in. If you're a Newcastle fan tuning in, then why are you here? But also, you might want to turn off, because we're going to lay into you as twats, basically. Yeah. It's going to be great.
Yeah, you've got to enjoy it, because it only comes around twice a year, as you said, Gav. But but as well as Gav basking it and it all, we've got Ant Waterson. All right, mate?
I am very well. Just want to wish Craig Gordon a very happy week. Not happy getting beat off teams that aren't as good as him. Well, look, we beat you twice and we're probably in the league.
Craig Gordon, right?
Craig Gordon.
Right?
Shit.
No. This is very
Did I say
important.
Craig Gordon?
This is very important, right? And we're giving people a peek behind the curtain here, but Andrew's laughing because we've already pre-recorded tomorrow's episode of the pod with Councillor Kevin Johnson, and he also called him Craig Gordon.
Craig Gordon.
I had to stop him and say, Craig Gordon's getting in the neck here.
I'm so sorry, Craig. But no,
right,
I hope.
At least not the first person to do it, and don't worry about it.
I mean, I do hope Craig Gordon is having a good week. I genuinely wish him all the best. But Anthony Gordon, I hope you're having an extra special week, losing to a team who apparently aren't as good as you. We beat you twice. We're above you in the league. You're all crying. You're Geordie tears. I absolutely love it, guys. It is mint. I've had a wonderful week. I don't know if you've seen, Gav mentioned celebrations. I heard one in a couple of our chats where I'm getting a bit doolally, but amazing day, amazing performance, and an amazing result, and well deserved. And this has got to be. I mentioned this on my personal Twitter. If anyone now has ever mentioned getting rid of Register Briss, just watch that game and watch how much of a genius he was in that second half, because that was superb, and he absolutely outwitted Senior Howe. So yeah, let's rock and roll, mate. Can't wait for this. Let's get into it.
Yeah,
Chris is gone, so that's been bad enough. Chris is actually gone.
I was just about to cover for Chris and introduce our other guest, but Andrew's here as well, Chris. But then you're back, so Chris, take the wheel, mate.
Bloody cat being a pain in the arse, and I was in a panic because I was trying to bring up the Scottish Premier League for a second just to see what the situation was there in case he did have a big game.
He's still top. Yeah.
Well, there you go. He has got an exciting end of the season, so I was wondering what was going on there. But also
is the cat a nickname you've got for Craig Gordon, by the way?
No, it's a new cat we've got that's been an absolute pain in the backside trying to get in and out and all that sort of stuff. So I'm running backwards and forwards. I'm just going to ignore it now. But anyway, also with us, who joined us in the immediate aftermath, we've got Andrew Smithson. How's it going, mate?
It's going well, thanks. That cat hasn't spotted a magpie in the garden or anything, has it, Chris? It's not trying to get at that.
I was thinking it might bring us a couple of presents on Monday morning, a couple of magpies dragged through the cat flap or something like that, arse first or whatever. But yeah, we joined straight after the game, but, and we were buzzing then, but it just gets better and better, doesn't it, with every hour almost, doesn't it?
Oh, well, it's always that spectacular fallout from that lot. Was it Ant that mentioned the Geordie tears? I hope that gesture's aimed at the cat, Chris, and not me, mind. I hope.
I'm telling the cat where to sod off now.
It's all part of the fun, and like you say, it only happens twice a year, but it's that magical time when the Wi-Fi goes down in Tyneside because you don't hear nearly as much, and they suddenly all decide to wash their Newcastle shirts, because I've not seen one dotted around the streets for about 48 hours now. You said that you keep looking at different bits of footage and loving it. If anybody hasn't seen this one yet, I thoroughly recommend digging out the footage of Dan Burn trying to clatter Enzo Lefebvre towards the end. He mucks it up royally, gets up, runs away, looking sheepish, and Lefebvre's just laughing out loud at him. So that's a nice little clip. And you've said there that we're milking it. Lads, I think we need to milk it as much as we can because there's plenty of supposed northern reporters and outlets who I don't even think they've mentioned Sunderland played at the weekend, man. It's just we don't get the lickings of a dog. So apologies if we crow about this, but I think it's only right that we actually stand up for ourselves and just remind people there is another club in the northeast, you know, lads. There is a team called Sunderland who are doing quite well at the moment.
Well, you say that, but Shea Given was whinging before the game that apparently all the coverage was about Sunderland, wasn't he?
Oh, can I
Was
just say on
it?
that, by the way? I've watched that yesterday night. I watched the full game back on Sky last night. David Jones, I tip my hat because he did his very best to make sure that was a Sunderland-centric programme as it possibly could have been. Carragher was accusing him of bias. As Chris says, the bit with Given was class. He referred to him as former Sunderland goalkeeper Shea Given and only showed clips of him playing for Sunderland. And Given's face was a picture, like you could tell he wasn't happy. But even in the build-up to that, all they did was showed Sunderland derby goals and derby wins. It was just fantastic. Like Sky, hats off. You did a fantastic job of ensuring that Sunderland weren't treated like the B side for once, which a lot of people has been pointing out like to do, you know.
But Gav, there's the thing. We've had to put up with that for years. And when we make that type of accusation, it's like, oh, Sunderland got a chip on the shoulder. The first hint of David Jones giving it a bit back, and there you said, Gav, they're all crying. They've got no self-awareness, and all of this just adds to the fun and games in the days afterwards. Like, it's brilliant watching them go on like this.
What a fantastic segue into the first question that we've got in from the socials. And I'm going to go to Ant with this because Owen Sarah on the socials sent in just saying, just how good are we? Just how crap are the Mags? And Matthew also adds, how shit are the Mags? But, I mean, let's turn that into a little question as well. And you can, of course, answer those as they were. But the other thing, we were talking about their reaction. And, you know, I remember when I was young, going through the, 80s, late 80s, 90s, we win that playoff. But then after that, we went on a right barren run. And I can't remember really, the rivalry was there. But at the time, we had to say, yeah, you're kind of better than us or whatever. But just the way they react, it makes it all the better for us, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. 100%. You're absolutely bang on there. You're seeing, like, obviously the tears from them, and obviously, they're like YouTubers who were just like going absolutely ballistic. And it was hilarious. It absolutely hilarious. To answer the first question, were Mints, they're not as good as they think they are. And they're not, because they've been bang average all season. You look where they are in the league. They're 12th in the table. You look at the team, they spent 200 million quid. They spend, Johan Wissa and Anthony Elanga cost more than what any of our players did put together this season, just to start off. So, they've got to be you're looking at how bad the league is. You look at like Man United, who were a basket case until January, and Man United are third in the table. You look what Liverpool are doing, Chelsea are doing, like the Spurs and stuff like that, and they can't break into the top six. They're meant to be this biggest club in the Northeast, one of the biggest clubs in the country, and all this palaver. Sorry, but you're not. You're completely not. You're bang average. Absolutely bang average. And do you know what it is? Both of them games, we've wanted it more. We wanted it more in that second half, arguably in the first half. They scored. You were just expecting. I was completely expecting once they scored to absolutely go at us and, chance after chance after chance. But we were all right first half. We created a couple of opportunities. Talby had a good shot, well saved. Then in the second half, as soon as we scored that first goal, you knew who was going to win that game, and it wasn't going to be Newcastle United. And they're going on about the offside goal, which was a mile offside anyway. You can't really grumble with that. But they did not do anything in that second half. And they can blame it on, we're tired with this, that, and the other. We had probably our sixth choice centre half pair playing there. You know what I mean? We had Luke O'Nien in there, and Melker Elborg at the back. Who would have predicted that? You know what I mean? 3 or 4 weeks ago. We had Hume playing out of position. So, but you're right though about this rivalry stuff. So I can remember, obviously, grew up in the late 80s, 90s when I was still going to games. And the first time I remember beating them was the Beanbag games, but I didn't see us live beating them until I think it was the Kieran Richardson, wasn't it, when he scored that free kick. So we were just used to getting beat off them all the time, weren't we? And it was never like, you know what I mean? It was we were never like reacting the way they're doing. Like, it was just, let's get on to the next game, we'll beat them the next time and all this stuff. But and that's what makes it a bit more sweeter for me, because I can just obviously I live in Durham, so it's like half, you know what I mean? A lot of Sunderland fans, a lot of Durham mags. So, but the fact that they're just crying their eyes, I just absolutely love. But yeah, we're class. I've said that all season. We've had a blip, and every team in this league's had a blip. Even Arsenal, even City, every team's had a blip. And the fact that we've won 2 away games in that blip against Leeds and the Mags makes it even more sweeter for me. And like I say, it's just scars in the for this group. Like, it really is.
Yeah. Well, that's it, Gav. I mean, look, their reaction just adds to the whole thing, doesn't it? It just throws kind of fuel on the fire for us, doesn't it? When we do beat them like this. And Chris Day kind of asks about Craig Gordon's comments, because he said, "What did you make of?" Craig Gordon. I've done it again. I'm gonna right. We'll talk about the Scottish Premier League in 10 minutes. All right.
Hang on, was that not you taking the piss out? And you actually said Craig Gordon.
You know what the worst thing about that is? I'm actually reading it, and it says Anthony, and that still says Craig Gordon.
People are going to think this is some sort of inside joke. They're going to listen to tomorrow's podcast and hear Kev see it, and I'm like, and they'll be like, "That's the third time someone on this podcast has called him Craig Gordon." Is there an inside joke we're not getting? I can show you everyone. No, we're just really, really bad at names. That's all.
Welcome to the Scottish Premier League review this week with the lads, and we'll crack on. But anyway, what did you make of Anthony Gordon's comments that we were poor and they gave us the game? Chris Day says, "My opinion of it is that we gave them a goal, and other than a few shots that went into row Z and a header off the post, they were effing crap and bottled it, and we outplayed them second half." I mean, just to kind of, before you get into it, Gav, because Anthony Gordon, got it right that time, he said, the frustrating thing is, in my opinion, they're not a very good team compared to us. We shouldn't lose to them. Away is obviously more difficult because they have the fans, the atmosphere, and a bit more pressure. But at home, we should not lose that game. Not with the first half we had, but again, we haven't been good enough starting second half, and it's an ongoing problem. Look, I mean, he's saying that, Gav. We beat them twice this season, and we're above them in the league after, 3/4 of the season. I mean, and for him to come out with something like that, it just adds to this just almost unwavering, no, we're just better than you, and that's it. That's the full stop. Whereas I imagine if we'd lost the other day, we'd be like, yeah, Newcastle are a good side, and and we would have been looking at the game or whatever and how it went. Of course, we would have been building up the rivalry and all that like we always do. But there's an element of them just putting up a brick wall, isn't it, about it?
I think it's a very long-standing, deep-seated cultural issue within people from Newcastle, people associated with that city, that club, where it goes back and back. I mean, again, people will hear us talk about this briefly when they hear the pod tomorrow as well. But I actually on the Monday supplement with Martin and Damien, I asked that question to them both. Like, what do you think it is? Why is it that there is this belief? And neither of them could really answer. They couldn't really put their finger on it. And I've kind of went away and thought about it. And I do think it's cultural. It has to be, because it transcends one squad, one group of players, one manager. It's just Newcastle. And it's been going on for years and years and years. And they genuinely, deludedly, in my opinion, see themselves as above us. And, see Newcastle as a place above Sunderland. We're inferior. They look down the nose at us. I've even seen people still saying forever in our shadows. I've seen that 4 or 5 times. And I haven't really sought out the views of Newcastle fans since the game. But the ones that I have seen popping up here, there and everywhere, I've seen that comment, forever in our shadows. And I actually replied to one of the fellas who said it I seen it on Facebook a bit. I don't normally bite, but I replied to it. I went, what shadow? What are you talking about? You haven't beat Sunderland in a league game for 15 years. That is a very long time. So what shadow are you talking about? But there is this belief. There's still, I'm telling you now, any mag you know, sit them down if you could really be asked to deal with that bullshit and ask them this question. Do you think you're a bigger club than Sunderland? Do you think you're better than Sunderland? They're all going to say the same thing. They believe it. They absolutely believe it. It's cultural. It's in them. It's just the way they all are. The same reason why they've all got the same shit crack. The same reason why they all bring up cheesy chips and airport and panda pop and all these things that nobody else thinks is funny. They're all just brain dead. That's my opinion of the situation. And that bleeds into the players, because the players hear this stuff, they read this stuff, they're part of this like Geordie nation. You know, they all think that they're just amazing, and they think the sun shines out their arse, and that everybody thinks they're brilliant, and that everybody should think they're brilliant. And they're deluded. They're completely deluded. And when Anthony Gordon said that, it did not shock us. Didn't surprise me one little bit, because that's exactly the type of shit that they all come out with. And he's just an extension of that. You know, in my opinion, they're not a better team than us, or whatever he said. In my opinion, we should be beating them. Well, that's why you lost. That's why you lost the game, because you don't see what's going on in front of your eyes. While they're all deluding themselves into thinking they should just be able to walk into games and beat Sunderland, we're quietly going about our business, treating it like any other game. Our players are not intimidated. They're not scared. As shown by that great clip on the road video where Siddiqui and Mayenda are coming out the tunnel and taking the piss out of people booing them. They're not. Our players are, whatever that is in their heads, is not in the players at Sunderland, because our players are respectful. They've got humility, and I like to think that's an extension of us as supporters and as people. And yeah, by the time we play them next year, Chris, they'll be coming out with the same shit. 6 easy. They might not say 6 easy points, because that's come right back to bite them on the arse. But there'll be similar sorts of comments. You'll have the similar sort of the arrogance when they go into games against Sunderland. I mean, I don't know if you saw the same stuff I did, but like videos and clips of like, when someone interviewing on the street, what do you think the score's going to be against Sunderland? I don't think I heard a single Newcastle fan say anything other than like 3 or 4-0. They all thought they were going to batter us. And that lack of humility is going to follow them around. And until they get some humility, we're going to keep beating them, and they're going to keep scrambling around, pointing blame at people like Eddie Howe, and pointing blame at some of the players there, when really it's from within. It's a cultural thing, I think.
Yeah, and we reposted Alan Shearer from the summer as well when we got promoted, saying it was going to be 6 easy points as well, which was fun. But anyway, I think that's a really good point for us to take a quick break. So we'll be back very soon.
My day kicks off with a refreshing Celsius energy drink, then straight to the gym. Pre-K pickup, back home to meal prep. Time for my fire station shift. One more Celsius, gotta keep the lights on. When the 3-alarm hits, I'm ready. Celsius. Live, fit, go. Grab a cold, refreshing Celsius at your local retailer or locate now at Celsius.com.
2 teams, 1 cup. The primetime stage is set for the TGL presented by SoFi Finals. Los Angeles Golf Club versus Tigers Jupiter Links. Keep up, it's playoffs. Tune in Monday, March 23rd, 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2, and Tuesday, March 24th, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN and on the ESPN app.
Protein is now at Starbucks, and it's never tasted so good. You can add protein cold foam to your favorite drink or try one of our new protein lattes or matcha. Try it today at Starbucks.
And welcome back to How We're the Podcast, and we'll get straight back into it, because we've got loads more questions on the derby and on the rivalry as well, because Sunderland Till I Die asks Andrew. He says, realistically, how many attempts will the great unwashed need to finally win a derby? Despite gifting them a goal and playing our reserve team, they still failed at home. Should we not turn up next time until the second half? Haven't left so much... Oh, God. Can't remember what that was, but he said, and has Shearer been found? But Andrew, I mean, just on that, because it has been mentioned a little bit, but they're getting so desperate, and their reaction to not winning a derby for so long, I think, is impacting the players on the pitch, and it's impacting that atmosphere, because as soon as that game's starting to turn, and we've talked about it actually in terms of the atmosphere at the Stadium of Light, that impact it has on players, that you could feel it and you could sense it in the players, that they could feel that pressure from the crowd. when it started to turn. And the pressure's so big now because of that timeline that the players just feel it when they're on the pitch playing Sunderland, don't they?
Oh, it without doubt feeds through. And they must, excuse me, they must see some of these daft YouTubers that, fly off the handle whenever Newcastle lose. They're kind of like rage bait and all of this. They must know that the second they put a foot wrong against Sunderland, they're going to be in for it. And yeah, that did filter through to the pitch. I think it might have been Kelvin in one of the pods made the point that when we made an early error and went 1-0 down, all the close-ups of the Sunderland players, though, there was no panicking. It was all very level-headed, all very professional. Gav's mentioned it. There's been a couple of moments there where the fans were getting on the Sunderland players' backs and they've just shrugged it off. Our mindset for the derby was brilliant, whereas Newcastle looked quite weak. I don't know if that's common with them because I don't watch them other than when they're playing against us. But Sunderland used to be a team who were accused of being weak and would roll over and have their bellies tickled. There's none of that now. We have the right mental strengthness. How many attempts did they need to beat us? I don't know. Just by pure, chance, like mathematical chance, they're going to have to beat us at some point soon, but our response will be a lot more dignified and a lot more, right, lads, let's brush ourselves down and go from there. Just following on from what Gav said, I mean, at the risk of this becoming a psychology pod or something, I genuinely think there's a large proportion of Newcastle fans have like narcissistic tendencies. I honestly do. Just the constant need for like admiration and recognition, and they're so self-centered. They can't see beyond their own nose. I mean, I know one or two Newcastle fans who are lovely people, really genuine people. But as soon as it starts talking about the Toon and Sunderland, they can't help themselves. Educated people that they've got to make a dig. And Gav said there about they adamantly believe they're a bigger club than Sunderland. They might well be. They've won a trophy more recently, or this type of thing. But it's not just whether they think they're a better club. They genuinely think, a large proportion of them think they are better as people, purely because of where they're from and who they support. It's madness. The crack, that's another thing, the shit crack. I noticed one of them was waving a toy seagull at the Sunderland fans before the game because they've got this thing in their head about seagulls, even though it turned out that the lad who was in bother for troubling seagulls, which is a mad thing to say, he turned out to be a Newcastle fan. So not only is it really rubbish patter in the first place, they just parrot the same stuff, and none of them have gone, hey, lads, we're better.
That was a seagull, it wasn't a parrot.
Hey. But none of them have gone, we better knock that one on the head because it's making us look a little bit daft. And all of this kind of bizarre psychosis around Newcastle and telling themselves they're the biggest club in the world, it's actually good. I mean, everybody in the country's starting to pick up on this now. It's not just Sunderland fans starting to pick up on it, but it's actually good because it's one of the things that holds them back the most. It's mad. They can't even see it.
Can I, on that point about patter, I kind of touched on it there before with some of the things, the cheesy chips and airport and hot dog, sausage in a burger bun and all these things you hear, right? And you just go, I've actually asked, because I've got friends like you, Andrew, or Mags, right? When it comes to football, I hate them.
I didn't love them as friends, Gav. I didn't say they were friends. I said I knew
acquaintances. Yeah. No, but I've got mates. I've got mates who are Mags, right? And I hate them when it comes to football. And they're all the same. They've all got that. They find, like, they'll say something about an airport and they think it's hilarious. And I'll go, can somebody, one of you, explain why that's funny, please? it's like I'm not being a bore here. I'm genuinely curious as to why that's meant to be funny about having an airport or blue pop, cheesy chips, all these things that that famous Geordie wit, isn't it? Like I hate it. I just despise it, and it makes it all the more sweet when you've had to endure that for a week or so leading into a game, and then you hear it. Like even watching the videos, the video the club put out, where the Sunderland fans were arriving at the ground and stuff, and you can hear the chanting back and forth and things. It's all absolutely shite crack, and it just makes them look ridiculous. I mean, when they end up losing to us, it's even better, isn't it? It'll carry on. It'll keep going on and on forever. But at some point, I do wonder if the penny will eventually drop and they'll just realise they're not what they think they are. I don't think it will, though. It's evaded them for long enough.
Yeah, well, I'll throw the next one to you, Ant, because Kanji asks on the socials, said, since League One days and arrival of Saudi money, Newcastle have literally been in a different league to us. Is this season a sign that the dynamic has now shifted? And can Sunderland's on-field and off-the-field model translate to sustained regional dominance? Now, this is our first season in the Premier League, isn't it? And, this is, Lebris and the owners and everyone keeps saying this is a long journey. And actually, if you really, analyse it, we're probably ahead of schedule. We're probably way ahead of schedule, actually, compared to where the owners thought we might be at this point. But this is a long journey, and to do that, we've got to make it sustainable because we're doing it in a very different way to Newcastle. But just on the point of the Saudi money, and obviously the question at hand, and that do you think that Saudi money has almost given them this sense of that we're just better because they should have all this money and they should be challenging and they should be doing all this, but because they're not, it's making them almost even more frustrated.
No, I think that's a great point. Like, I honestly think that some Newcastle fans have forgotten what Newcastle were before they did get the Saudi money because they were just struggling in and around, getting relegated and this, that, and the other. And had Steve Bruce as manager. They weren't a good side. They weren't really a huge club this time. Than this money the money. Well, how long's it been now? It's been 4 or 5 years that they've had this Saudi money, and they've got a league.
Not a good side. That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got a league.
That hurts the most. They're still shit. Even after spending all that money, they're still worse than Sunderland.
Yeah, exactly. Like I say, I honestly think they've forgotten what they were before this privilege came in, and it's entitlement. That's all it is. It's the same when you watch. It's the same with like City now. When you see City and their fans are just expecting to win every game, and it's all this entitlement nonsense. To be honest.
Can I just say, Ant, just on that point, their reaction to winning the Carabao Cup, by the way, a bit of a shrug of the shoulders from the fans, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah. You know what I mean? It's, but, and it is, and that's, and I'm so glad that we are doing it the proper way, that, we are doing it with, by buying young, hungry players, hopefully selling them at a nice profit, like what we've done with Joe Bellingham, like what, reported what's happening in the scene, Robin Ruffs. But if we can do that and then bring these experienced heads in, like your Granit Xhakas and stuff like that, and you just look at how well we have bought this season, and how little they've spent really. I know it's still a lot of money that they've spent, but you look like Nordy Mukiele for how much he was. How much is he worth now? What, 60, 70? I don't think I'm being over dramatic by saying he's that. Same with Dan Ballard. I mean, we signed Dan Ballard for very little, and look at him now. He looks totally a top Premier League defender. So we are doing it properly, and yes, we have to kind of expect that there are going to be hard times. What I said before, like when we had our blip, and I know it wasn't all fans, and I don't want to use this to have a pop at fans, this, that, and the other, but it was very easy to go the wrong way, which is what some did. Like, oh, we need rid of the Briss. The Briss is not going to last till the end of the season because his football's not good enough, and this, that, and the other. Like, what we're thinking now. But I think it's because I've got so much right off the pitch this season, especially with, I keep on mentioning the Xhaka thing before the game. Some of the stuff that they did before this game as well, and then after, like the on-the-road stuff, which is class. They've got the fans on board, and I think we've got this such a close connection, I would say, with the people off the scene and with the club. And I think that's what Newcastle are missing, and that's probably why they're reacting the way they react and stuff like that, because I think they're just a little bit jealous of how easy we're doing it. But hey ho.
I think deep down that's there. Yeah, I think they're a bit envious of the way we've done it, because we didn't have to sell our souls to get to this point. We did this the right way. We did it sensibly. We did it without spending a lot of money. We did it with investing in young players, smart recruitment, bringing in bright people to the football club who've got vision. They've got none of that. They've got Eddie Howe and his nephew and Jason Tyndall and Saudi owners who never go to games and don't care. And the money will run out eventually because their interest will run out and they'll sell up. And that's the reality of it. They'll always be known as Saudi cooks. That's all they'll ever be.
And you know what, Gav, as well?
They can't stand that we've done what we've done.
And it is already starting to happen with the sports washing stuff, because the golf, is it the PI, whatever they call it, the Live, that's the one, Live. I was thinking of PIF, but that's them, isn't it? The Live golfers, like you're seeing some of these Live golfers now who want to go back to the PGA because they've run out of interest, because the big highlighty stuff, like what they were promised, hasn't happened. And it's exactly the same thing with what's happening now. They thought they'd come in here, they'd come into the Premier League, they'd end up buying, a boatload of players and end up winning everything within 3 or 4 years. You can't do that anymore. You can't do it. There's the PSR or whatever's replacing PSR will not let you do that. So, fair enough. And but I do think it is envious. And you all mentioned before about the way, the way they kind of like just still go, we're still a bigger club than them. Where's your proof? Where's your proof in that? You've won a League Cup. You know what I mean? You've done absolutely nothing. And you still, but you got nothing, and you've let aside, and especially like I say, aside, especially on Sunday, who have been on bad run of form. We've had players injured. We had our best centre half out. We had our goalkeeper out. We had Mukiele on the bench. We had our first choice left back sat on the bench, and we still beat you. And we give you a bloody goal head start, lads. I mean, man, just we keep go all day with this, man. So
Ant's been practicing these in a Winston Churchill. But
you know what, though, Chris? Right? I've just been reading this. This is off one of these idiots, right? This is from a certain YouTuber. He may be called Geordie, and his name might be Josh. This is a reply there. They deserve to win home and away this season infuriatingly, but in no way, shape or form are we ever in anything in the same boat as that lot. Right, hang on, you're in the same league as us, so of course you're in the same bloody boat, and we beat you twice and we're above you in the league. So go and have a look. I'll tell you what to do instead of going on about stuff like that and get mental on your socials and everything like that and look like a lunatic. Just look at the league table, son.
Well, that often is known as rage bait. However, in the case of Newcastle supporters, he 100% means that, and I know he does. That's how they all are. There's this, I don't know what it is, mentality within Mags where they all think exactly like that.
Yeah, and you are right in terms of the table, but with it being 1 point, it could kind of flip flop. But the fact is, if you look at what Gav and Martin and Damien were talking about how much they've spent compared to what we've spent, we should not be 1 point ahead if you put it down to pure money spent. But Andrew, I just wanted to bring you in quickly because you were trying to get into that conversation while Ant was giving it some. But
laughing, that's the point.
you did put that into room 101 when we're talking about it. But I mean, the overriding point is, and I would genuinely, and you said this, I would genuinely say this if it was any club, that it's almost that whatever they achieve by doing it this way will always have an asterisk next to it in the record books because they did it this way.
I believe so. Chris, this is brilliant. Watching Ant and Gav probably giving it 6 now. You backwards and forwards trying to get this cat to start behaving itself. I'm loving watching you three.
You definitely do videos as well.
Yeah.
Same big jump.
You're right. There will always be a question mark over it. And listen, I'm not going to pretend that I would find it easy to walk away from Sunderland if dubious owners took over. but I'd like to think I questioned it and at least had a thought about it. And Gav says there, the Saudi Arabians don't turn up at the club anymore, and referred to PIF there. Their finger marks are still all over the club, because I don't watch Newcastle very often, so this might have been the case for a while. But there was all sorts of PIF advertising at St. James on Sunday and on the advertised hoardings and what have you. Now, the last time I heard, I thought they were still trying to make out as if they had nothing to do with PIF, and this wasn't a government sanctioned takeover of a club. Do you remember when they tried to kid us on? And they basically, there was lies and there was pressure put on a prime minister in our country who had his own, I'll put it politely and say he had his own agenda, but there was question marks about his fitness for the job of prime minister. He let through a deal and said, oh no, Newcastle have got nothing to do with PIF and all of this rubbish. Well, they don't even seem to be pretending or hiding that now, because the company name is plastered all over St. James. And this leads me on to something else. There was a lot of reporters, and Eddie Howe himself said, oh, I'm going to have to educate myself about the Saudi regime and what they are and how they behave. Well, lads, you've had long enough to educate yourselves now, and we've still not heard anything. There's so many people in the press. We saw it so much in the build-up and after the game that are just sycophants. They're allowing sports washing to take place. We've had a Sunderland player who was, we are led to believe, racially abused at the game on Sunday. I'm not seeing nearly enough talk about that. Why is that not being questioned? Sunderland appoint a manager who has some dubious political leanings in Paolo Di Canio. We get hauled over the coals. Newcastle are just sat there. They're not hiding who they are at the moment. They are. Some of their behaviour is disgusting. It doesn't get called out. Listen, our bus got bottled.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was just about to bring that up, Andrew. Yeah.
Sunderland fans would I mean, Newcastle come to Sunderland and they get a ring of steel around them. They get their hands held to the ground, even though in comparison, the trouble on Weir side ahead of a derby is nothing compared to the crap we have to face when we go up there. I know there was some sort of nominal protection from the police, and I'm not an expert on policing tactics and what have you, but there's enough people coming out saying we felt like sitting ducks. We were allowed to have stuff thrown at us, punches thrown at us, large scale as well. We're not just talking about one or two dafties, we're talking about hundreds of people, and nobody's looking at that other than Sunderland fans. Nobody's questioning that, saying, why is this being allowed to happen? Why is a club who at the very top are run by people with questionable morals, and that's putting it lightly, why are all of these bad behaviours just going unpunished? And the bus getting hit with bottles, what are you doing, man? Sickening.
Well, we do need to start wrapping up, and the last one, Gav, does have a little bit of that, because Beefy asks, he said, and try and answer this fairly quickly because we could go back all through the victories over this lot, because he says, where does yesterday rank in terms of derby days? He says it tops the lot for me. He says the only downside was being the shambles of a police escort. Said 2 pints before kickoff is unprecedented. But where does this rank? And just quickly, Gav, on that point, because whenever there's trouble in this derby, it always seems to be up there, doesn't it?
Where does it rank? I mean, I always say, oh, that's the best win yet. But then the next one always seems to top it. So, I mean,
it's the best until the next one.
It is definitely. I mean, before this season, it was unquestionably, for me anyways, it was the 3-0 under Poyet. where we didn't just batter them, we played them off the park for 90 minutes and they didn't lay a glove on us. But then beating them in the 90th minute after giving them a 1-goal head start and after being told they were going to beat us easily all season in the summer, 6 easy points and all that shit, I think that might be the best, yeah. It could possibly be. Because they have no answer to this. Nothing. They can't say nout to us. They've got to take it on the chin. They can't come up with any excuses, because I've already seen Pete Graves from Sky, who is a Newcastle fan, by the way. The first thing he tweets is about the injuries to Tonali and Bruno. They're not the same team without them. No mention of Sunderland's injuries, because we didn't make excuses. And I said this on the pod the other day. I said, while everybody was, and our own fans were doing this as well, and I understand it, but while everybody was focusing on who might be available for the derby, Regis Labrise was just looking at the players he knew he had, and he went, what can we do with this group to get them ready for this game? Hence why Mukiele, Ronaldo, you name it, were on the bench rather than starting. They were a bonus, basically. So while everyone else was making excuses, including on Tyneside, we weren't. We were getting on with it. And that for me makes this the best one. And we, Chris, we get to enjoy this for at least 3 weeks. We've got 3 weeks international break where we can just gloat. And it'll go on longer than that, I'm sure. But, I mean, this one does feel very, very special to me. On the trouble, nothing surprises us. It was allowed to happen. I think Andrew's bang on there. The lack of talk about this in the national media is frightening, frankly. I mean, Luke Edwards on Look North on Monday night brushed over the comments on Hertrauder's alleged racist abuse directed towards him, and then had to apologise for it on Twitter because he got so much abuse about it. But there's a symptom of this mag media that people laughed at us about for years. But it's true. There are people in the national media who are supposed to be North East sports reporters who don't pay a bit of attention to Sunderland. And I'm not really bothered. They're welcome to Luke Edwards, if I'm honest. I think he's a dick. But that what we're seeing now on the larger scale, all these problems coming out, the trouble on the way to the ground, the bus getting targeted, the racist abuse towards our players that allegedly not being talked about enough. And that's a symptom of people like him, and there are others in the media who have covered up for this Newcastle regime. They've covered up for this club for a number of years now, and they will continue to do so because they're so far up the Saudi arses that it's impossible to escape. So they're welcome to these people, if I'm honest. I'd rather people come to us for their news and not people who pay half a mind to Sunderland because they're paid to do it. You know, I'm covering Sunderland this week. Oh well, never mind. See you next year, lads.
Just keep beating them. That's it. Well, I think that's a good place to finish today. And I'm not going to throw the same question at Ant and Andrew about where this ranks, because we are planning a podcast to rank all of our victories against the Mags in the Stadium of Light era. So look out for that.
No spoilers here, Chris. No spoilers.
There are many.
So I didn't want to throw it at them.
We'll just do a top 20 or a top 30. Yeah. There's that many of them.
Well, we're going to go through them all in the Stadium of Light era with the lads. So we'll plan that for another day. But it just leaves me to say thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. Even put my teeth back in. Craig Gordon again. But thanks for your time, and yeah, thanks again everyone for listening to part 1 of our Q&A. So if we didn't get round to your question that you sent us, listen to part 2, which will probably be later on this week. Look out for that, where I'll say we'll move away from the derby, but it might just come up in conversation. So look out for that, as well as checking out everything on the Roker Report website that has every angle covered on the lads. But from us, it's bye for now.
Sports Social Podcast Network, the biggest voices in sport. Let's take a look at some of the lineup. Under the cosh.
Anything you do different in management?
I'd probably get a better pitching Saipan.
Let's be having you.
I love the fact that he's chosen that moment to go, do you know what? Now I'm going to do it.
The England Pod.
If he plays regular minutes this season for Manchester City, he will re-emerge as one of the best players that we've got.
All on Europe's biggest sport podcast network. Find your next favourite sport podcast. Search Sports Social Podcast Network and listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Verified comparison at content.sport-social.co.uk/comparison.